Before this video is over, you're going to recognize parts of your own life in ways you may not expect. The frustration of knowing you're capable of more, the quiet feeling that time is moving faster than your progress, and the questions you ask yourself late at night when no one else is listening. This is not another motivational talk filled with empty words. This is about the principles that decide who rises, who drifts, and who looks back one day wishing they had acted sooner. Most people go through life on autopilot, reacting instead of choosing, hoping things will change without ever understanding what truly causes change. But there are lessons life teaches everyone, whether we listen early or learn them through pain and regret. The difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is not luck, talent, or background, but awareness and action at the right time. In the next few minutes, you're going to hear truths that may challenge the way you think, the habits you've accepted, and the standards you've been living by. These lessons are simple, but they are not easy, and that's why so few people apply them. If you stay with this video until the end, you won't just feel motivated, you'll understand why certain patterns keep repeating in your life and how to finally break them. So, take a breath, clear the noise, and give yourself this moment. What you're about to hear isn't meant to entertain you, it's meant to wake you up. Stay with me, because the lesson that changes everything often comes at the end, the first and most overlooked. Truth of life is that every visible result begins as an invisible thought, long before it becomes a habit, an action, or a circumstance. The mind is not a passive observer of life, it is an active creator, constantly shaping direction through the ideas it repeatedly accepts as true. What a person thinks about consistently begins to influence how they feel, how they act, and ultimately, what they attract into their experience. Thoughts held with emotion gain power, and when repeated daily, they impress themselves upon the subconscious, quietly directing behavior without conscious effort. This is why two people can face the same situation and walk away with entirely different outcomes, because they are not reacting to reality itself, but to the meaning their minds assign to it. A thought of confidence produces decisive action, while a thought of fear creates hesitation, and over time, those small differences compound into massive gaps in results. The mind seeks expression, and whatever dominates it looks for a way to manifest itself in the physical world through choices, habits, and persistence. When an individual allows doubt, limitation, or scarcity to occupy their thinking, life begins to reflect those patterns back through missed opportunities and self-sabotage. On the other hand, when thoughts are disciplined, deliberate, and aligned with purpose, the mind begins to search for solutions instead of excuses. This is not wishful thinking or blind optimism. It is the law of cause and effect working through mental focus. Every achievement in history was once a thought sustained long enough to overpower uncertainty, and every failure was first accepted mentally before it appeared outwardly. The quality of one's thinking determines the quality of decisions made in moments when no one else is present, and those moments quietly shape destiny. A person cannot rise beyond the dominant ideas they carry about themselves, because action never contradicts belief for long. When the mind is trained to expect progress, growth, and achievement, behavior naturally aligns with those expectations, influencing tone, posture, effort, and resilience. Thoughts repeated daily become convictions, convictions become character, and character influences every result produced in life through the standards one accepts, the risks one takes, and the persistence one applies when resistance appears. Self-discipline is the invisible force that separates intention from accomplishment, because desire alone has never been enough to produce lasting results. Nearly everyone wants success, stability, and respect, yet only a small percentage are willing to govern their actions when comfort calls and effort feels inconvenient. Discipline is not about restriction, it is about direction, the conscious choice to place long-term rewards above short-term pleasure. The human mind naturally seeks ease, but progress demands resistance, and without discipline, talent fades, opportunities are wasted, and goals remain permanently postponed. Every meaningful achievement requires the ability to act in spite of mood, fatigue, fear, or distraction, and that ability is built through repeated acts of self-control. When discipline is practiced daily, it strengthens the will in the same way consistent exercise strengthens the body, making difficult actions feel natural over time. Those who lack discipline often blame circumstances, timing, or luck, unaware that their greatest obstacle is the absence of structure in their own behavior. Discipline governs habits, and habits quietly shape the direction of life. far more than isolated decisions ever could. It determines whether a person invests time wisely or trades it for temporary comfort, whether they refine their skills or remain stagnant, whether they finish what they start or abandon it when resistance appears. The disciplined individual does not wait for inspiration. They move first and allow momentum to create motivation. This principle applies equally to finances, health, relationships, and personal growth, because uncontrolled impulses eventually erode progress in every area. Discipline also builds self-respect, as each kept promise to oneself reinforces confidence and inner authority. Over time, this inner order creates outer results that appear effortless to observers who never saw the private battles fought in silence. Without discipline, life becomes reactive, driven by emotions and external pressures. But with discipline, life becomes intentional, guided by clear priorities and consistent action. The bridge between who a person is and who they desire to become is crossed one disciplined choice at a time, and those choices, repeated daily, determine whether potential remains locked inside or is fully expressed through action. A definite purpose is the organizing principle that gives meaning, direction, and momentum to life, without which energy is scattered and effort produces little reward. When a person lacks a clear aim, they drift from one situation to another, reacting instead of creating, allowing circumstances and opinions of others to dictate their path. Purpose focuses the mind, and a focused mind begins to recognize opportunities that were always present, but previously invisible. With a clearly defined objective, decisions become simpler because every choice is measured against a single standard, whether it moves one closer to or further from the desired outcome. Purpose also fuels persistence, because when the reason behind an action is strong, temporary discomfort loses its power to discourage. Many people work hard yet remain unfulfilled, not because they lack ability, but because their effort is not aligned with a clear direction. A definite purpose acts as an internal compass, guiding behavior during moments of uncertainty and preventing distraction from stealing momentum. It transforms vague wishes into intentional plans and replaces confusion with clarity. When the mind knows exactly what it is working toward, it begins to organize resources, time, and effort more effectively, often producing results that appear unusually focused and efficient. Purpose also strengthens identity, because a person who knows their aim is less vulnerable to doubt, criticism, and comparison. Instead of chasing every opportunity, they commit deeply to a chosen path, understanding that mastery requires concentration over time. Without purpose, setbacks feel personal and overwhelming, but with purpose, challenges are interpreted as temporary obstacles rather than final judgments. A clear aim provides emotional stability during difficulty, reminding the individual why endurance is necessary. History consistently shows that individuals who leave a lasting impact are not those with the most advantages, but those with the clearest sense of direction. Purpose transforms effort into progress and struggle into growth, shaping daily actions into steps toward a larger vision, and when that vision is held firmly in the mind, life begins to move with intention rather than accident. Failure is often misunderstood because it is judged by emotion rather than by its function, yet in reality it is one of life's most effective instructors. Most people fear failure not because it destroys opportunity, but because it challenges identity and exposes areas that require growth. When an attempt does not produce the desired result, it reveals information that success alone could never provide, highlighting weaknesses in strategy, preparation, or mindset. Every meaningful advancement is built upon adjustments made after something went wrong, because progress depends on correction, not perfection. Failure forces reflection, and reflection sharpens awareness, making future decisions more precise and intentional. Those who avoid failure also avoid learning, because growth demands the willingness to confront discomfort and uncertainty. The difference between those who rise and those who remain stagnant is not the absence of setbacks, but the ability to extract wisdom from them. Failure refines judgment by stripping away assumptions and revealing reality as it is rather than as it was imagined. It also builds resilience, teaching the mind that discomfort is survivable and that effort does not end with disappointment. Many abandon their pursuits too early because they interpret failure as a signal to stop, rather than as guidance on how to continue differently. Yet nearly every breakthrough arrives after repeated missteps, each one narrowing the gap between effort and understanding. Failure humbles the ego and replaces arrogance with awareness, encouraging openness to new methods and ideas. It also strengthens character, as persistence in the face of defeat develops inner strength that success alone cannot produce. When approached correctly, failure becomes a tool rather than a threat, redirecting energy toward improvement instead of regret. Life does not reward flawless execution, but adaptive intelligence, and failure is the mechanism through which adaptation occurs. Those who learn to study their setbacks objectively gain an advantage that cannot be taught through comfort or ease. In time, what once appeared as defeat becomes the foundation upon which mastery is built, transforming obstacles into stepping stones through understanding rather than resistance. A person is continuously shaped by their environment, often without conscious awareness, because the mind absorbs attitudes, beliefs, and standards from whatever surrounds it most consistently. The people one spends time with, the conversations that dominate daily life, and the information consumed all exert quiet influence over thought patterns and expectations. When an individual remains in an environment that normalizes limitation, complaint, or complacency, those traits gradually become accepted as natural, even when greater potential exists. Human behavior is highly adaptive, and over time it aligns with the standards that are repeatedly observed and reinforced. This is why ambition can weaken in discouraging surroundings, while confidence grows rapidly in environments that value progress and accountability. Associations matter because ideas are contagious, and repeated exposure to certain beliefs conditions the subconscious to accept them as truth. When surrounded by individuals who think small, avoid arc, responsibility, or fear change, those perspectives begin to feel justified, shaping decisions and behavior accordingly. Conversely, environments that encourage growth, discipline, and possibility elevate standards and expand perception. They challenge comfort and replace excuses with expectation, forcing the individual to rise to a higher level of performance. Environment also includes physical surroundings and daily routines, which influence mood, energy, and focus. Cluttered spaces often reflect cluttered thinking, while orderly environments promote clarity and intention. Media consumption, social platforms, and constant input also play a powerful role in shaping worldview, often reinforcing either fear or possibility depending on what is consumed most frequently. Many people attempt to change outcomes without changing the environment that reinforces their current habits, unaware that sustained transformation requires aligning surroundings with desired identity. Growth becomes easier when external conditions support internal goals rather than undermine them. Over time, the right environment acts as a silent mentor, reinforcing positive behavior and discouraging self-sabotage without force. Those who intentionally choose their associations and surroundings gain control over influences that would otherwise shape them unconsciously, allowing progress to feel natural rather than forced, and ensuring that daily exposure reinforces the future they are working toward rather than the past they are trying to escape. Persistence is the quiet force that continues working long after enthusiasm fades, and it is often the decisive factor between those who succeed and those who stop just short of meaningful results. Talent, intelligence, and opportunity can create a strong beginning, but without persistence, they rarely produce lasting outcomes. Most challenges are not designed to block progress permanently. They exist to test commitment and reveal how deeply an individual believes in their aim. When resistance appears, the mind looks for reasons to retreat, yet persistence trains it to look for reasons to continue. Each repeated effort strengthens resolve and reduces the emotional impact of obstacles, making difficulty feel manageable rather than overwhelming. Persistence is not reckless repetition of the same approach, but the determination to remain engaged while adjusting methods and refining strategy. Those who persist develop endurance, learning to function effectively even when conditions are imperfect and results are delayed. This quality separates temporary effort from sustained momentum because progress often unfolds slowly and invisibly before it becomes noticeable. Many abandon their pursuits not because they are incapable, but because they misinterpret delay as denial. Persistence teaches patience and builds confidence through accumulated effort, proving to the mind that consistency produces movement even when immediate rewards are absent. It also strengthens belief, as continued action reinforces the expectation that results will eventually follow. Life tends to yield its greatest rewards only after sustained pressure has been applied, filtering out those who lack commitment and rewarding those who remain steady. Persistence also transforms identity, shifting self-perception from someone who tries to someone who finishes. Each time an individual refuses to quit, they reinforce an internal standard that difficulty does not determine outcome. Over time, this standard influences behavior across all areas of life, creating resilience that cannot be easily shaken by failure or criticism. What appears to be luck from the outside is often persistence operating quietly in the background, outlasting doubt, fatigue, and resistance. When effort is maintained long enough, circumstances begin to adjust, opportunities align, and progress accelerates. Not because conditions suddenly become easy, but because persistence has removed quitting an option. Life does not change by chance. It changes through understanding and application. These lessons are not theories meant to inspire momentary emotion, but principles designed to guide daily living. Thoughts shape direction, discipline shapes action, purpose shapes focus, failure shapes wisdom, environment shapes behavior, and persistence shapes outcomes. When these forces work together, they create momentum that cannot be stopped by circumstances or doubt. Those who apply these lessons consistently rise above limitation, not because life becomes easier, but because they become stronger, clearer, and more intentional. The difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is rarely opportunity. It is the willingness to live by proven principles even when comfort argues otherwise. When these lessons are practiced daily, they quietly transform character, decisions, and results, leading to a life lived with direction rather than regret. As you move forward, may you have the courage to apply what you have learned and the discipline to stay the course when challenges appear. Success favors those who act, persist, and believe in their ability to grow beyond yesterday. Thank you for investing your time and attention, because that choice alone sets you apart. Stay committed to your purpose, trust the process, and keep moving forward. Good luck on your journey, and remember that progress begins the moment you decide to live by higher standards.